All right, I want to go to some of the updates from some of your analysts. Raising the price target on Microsoft to 680, to Meta to 875. Let's first start off, more broadly. What does this say about the tech trade that on the back of these earnings, you're raising the price targets for both of these companies?
Yeah, we're at 640 on Microsoft, but taking the price targets on both of those stocks up roughly another 10%, because I think what we're seeing now is that conversion is happening. As your colleague just said, you've got a situation now where the infrastructure spend is really showing in the reality of what people are doing, whether you're looking at engagement levels with Meta, which are really extraordinary given the scale of the user base that they have now, or whether you're talking about Microsoft with Copilot in particular. Our analyst Derek Wood highlights that 100 million, user mark that they've crossed with Copilot. That's very, very significant. There was a lot of investor skepticism about that. So these things now are not just about the infrastructure that's critical, but it's about the behaviors, about what people are doing every day using AI. And that seems only poised to increase.
All right, so obviously a lot of excitement about these two companies and their earnings. Investors seem to be very positive about the increases to CapEx spending along with the results themselves. Is this a broader read when we're talking about tech? I mean, is this immediately bullish for NVIDIA, AMD, Broadcom, other names in the AI chip space?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's hard to imagine that you'd see the blowout numbers that we've seen with Meta and Microsoft, and that wouldn't translate through across the board, because, per the whole discussion we're having, I think this is really about the generational tech shift that we're seeing with AI, and that diffuses, across so many different things on the infrastructure side, all of those players for sure, and then, on the usage side as well. I mean, you think about some of Microsoft's commentary, even on things like GitHub. GitHub now spending a lot of time with resources that are spent on development of apps and AI tools for Copilot. And so there's just such an interdependency here. So it's really hard to imagine that we're not going to see these results manifest across the board in tech.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm already starting to hear it. I was actually talking to one investor who's like really bullish on the NVIDIA triple levered ETF, and just like, I'm putting more money in that. To them, this is a sign that there's a lot more runway for NVIDIA in particular. I want to shift just to the broader market. So if you look in the month of July, if you look at the S&P and the S&P equal weight, the S&P is outperforming. It's obviously has a more bigger focus on tech, but the equal weight was outperforming the market cap weighted one just a couple days ago. We're looking at the chart right here. By the way, if you're watching, the orange line's the equal weight. You can see it was actually outperforming the S&P market cap weighted index as of a couple days ago. So, Lisa, I want to ask you, are Jim Cramer and a lot of other people I'm talking to saying we're just bullish on tech again? It's all about tech, and pretty much that's all it's about when it comes to the market. Does the money come from some other sectors, some other parts of the market? Are you expecting to see a narrowing of the market? And if so, what sector sees the declines or maybe just less interest?
Yeah, that's really interesting. And we were chatting about that with our traders last night, too. I think that remains to be determined. And I think, one of the question marks is it a sector shift or is it an asset allocation shift? And, do we really see what's been sitting on the sidelines and actually gets redeployed into the market? Certainly there was a lot of skittishness coming out of Liberation Day in April. We had a big DeepSeek reset. And so I think it'll be really interesting in the coming days to see where that comes from. Not yet clear to me, certainly, whether that's going to be a sector shift allocation. And I will say that even within tech, I think that it's true that you've got, these profound trends that are driving, but you're still going to have to pay attention to stocks, and you're going to see some, specific idiosyncratic stories that don't work. So you got to be paying attention to the right trends within tech, I think.